May I show you something? Brand new van. Just got the wife. Expensive. At least expensive to me anyways. Less than a week old. Wife smashes a pole. Scratches the whole damn side of the van. Back door. Wheel well. It's gouged. It's dented. The last van I got her, less than a week old, smashes a mailbox, backs into it, breaks the taillight, damages the paint, dents it. I have to spray it so it doesn't, spray paint that's close to the color, but not exactly, so it doesn't rust. But that was a lot cheaper van. This is a brand new, practically a year old van. You haven't even had it a week. She's rear-ended people 3 times because she does this. Oh, let me pick that up. Oh, crap. How many times of that does it take, do you think, before someone wakes up and says, I will never do that again when I'm driving? So if my head doesn't seem like I'm in the game right now of videos and updating people on what's happening in the world, and my facial expression just looks like I got punched in the face, I kind of did, in a sense. And I'm trying to remain calm. Deep breaths. Don't scream. Don't yell. But it's happened again. That's what I keep telling myself. It happened again. It happened again. It happened again. She stays home. I work, make the money that is now going out the window to repair this brand new van. So yeah, not not in the right state of mind at the moment, if you don't mind me saying so. Looks like our friends up north in Canada got more and more bad news for them. Just constantly, it's not looking good up there. And as I mentioned before, 70 cents to the dollar now, the Canadian dollar. 70 cents to our dollar. When it used to hover around 1 to 1, a little bit more, a little bit less, whatever. 70% of our dollar, I guess I could say, or 30% less than. And here's an interesting article, not even kind of surprising, from Zero Hedge. 50% of Canadians say they are within $200 per month of being unable to pay their bills. $200 a month. I wonder how much this van repair is going to cost me. Because if I was a Canadian, that might put me over the edge. It was just last month when we profiled Canada's other problem, record high household debt, which I believe Jason 4 covered as well. Canada is struggling to cope with falling crude oil prices, which have put enormous amounts of pressure on some parts of the country, most notably Alberta, where suicide rates are on the rise, as is property crime and food bank usage. Amid the malaise, households are also pressured by persistent Canadian dollar weakness, which is of course a symptom of falling crude oil. Bubbling crude oil, that is. The currency's decline has driven up prices for things like fresh fruits and vegetables, 75% of which Canada imports. And I bet the Canadian government, if I had to take a wild swing of a guess, says we don't really see much inflation. And if I also had to guess again, they took a page right out of the Federal Reserve's book. Over the last 25 years or so, well, since the 1980s technically, the Federal Reserve has changed the algorithm, if you will, of what it determines, what items determines if we have inflation in this country or not. So you guys are checking oil prices? No. You're checking the cost of energy for people. Heat their homes, electricity? No, we don't count that. You're definitely counting the price of food. No. No, don't look at that either. Then what in the hell are you looking at? No inflation. What are you... Well, we had to change it over 20 times in the last, 25 or so years. We've had to change, because every time we have some things in there and they start showing inflation, before it really happens, we kick that out of there. Get that out of the equation. Put something new in there. Oh, how about tissue boxes? Yeah. Tissue boxes haven't gone up hardly at all, so inflation looks good, guys. Tissue boxes? But I eat food. I have to have energy, electricity for my house. That's going up. Food prices going up. Imports for everything going up. In Canada, we don't look at that stuff. No inflation. Because that doesn't bother somebody like a politician who's making over $200,000 a year just in their salary with unbelievable perks. Oh, you need office for your little crew, your little do-boys and do-girls? That's covered by expense. You can expense that. Government will take care of that. Plus your salary, plus your lifelong unbelievable insurance, health insurance, retirement plans. Beautiful. Oh, and you're immune if you want to do any kind of insider trading because you're a politician. You're immune from insider trading. I bet all of our Congress needs to be immune from insider trading laws. They're so hard at work for you and I. They deserve to be able to get a little tip while they're investigating things, and that's why they have to have the immunity to insider trading. So, because they're going to be privy to certain information about the markets and the dollar, and maybe the dollar, but the stock market, you're allowed to have insider trading. Interesting. And if the price of a cucumber was $1 the other day, and now it's $2 today, but I'm making over $200,000 a year as a politician, I get campaign contributions that are making me a millionaire. Can't touch them yet. I can use them for campaign purposes, but I can't actually use the money personally yet until I retire. And then that big giant nest egg of campaign contributions I've accumulated over the years is given to me at the end of my career. And now I'm a multi-millionaire. Do you think that person, even before the campaign contributions got given to them when they retire, with their big 200-something thousand a year salary, all the perks and benefits and write-offs and fees and stuff they just get to, it's government take care of that. Do you think they even care slightly that a price of a cucumber was $1 and now it's $2? Not at all. Because if it doesn't affect them personally, nobody's going to care. And they can look at that. Guys, the Federal Reserve, they handle the inflationary stuff. Inflation's almost non-existent right now. Can't wait to hear what the Canadian government tells their people. Imports on food, inflation, we don't even look at that stuff. We don't know what you're talking about. The currency's decline has driven up prices for things like fresh fruits and vegetables, 75% of which Canada must import. That puts an extra burden on households that are already laboring under record debt. It almost looks like a Walmart sticker. Promise you low prices. Cucumbers, English, 2 for $6. 2 cucumbers for $6. You want to know what's funny? I didn't even realize there was a picture of cucumbers in this article from Zero Hedge. I was just reading from the top down and just thought to myself, a cucumber. Perfect thing to say. I don't know if maybe I got a glimpse of it earlier or something and that's like stuck in my brain. I didn't catch the price part. I just saw that right now. Here I'm talking about $1 for a cucumber that's gone up to $2. Well, they're saying 2 for $6. My example was 2 for $4, right? $2 a piece. That's already outrageous. Cucumber, 2 for $6. Or an FM cucumber English 3-count, which I guess maybe is a different brand. All right, FM for $6. Once again, that's $2 a piece. 3-count there. $5.99. Promise you low prices, it says. We promise you low prices. But $6 for 2 cucumbers isn't a low price. And the grocery store is going to say, well, we're lower than such and such grocery store. They got theirs 2 for $7. So compared to them, our prices are lower. Have a nice day. Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, thanks. As we showed 3 weeks ago, household debt relative to disposable income, I covered this, is sitting at 171% in Canada, meaning that for every $100 in disposable income, households have debt obligations of $171. That's the highest figure for any G7 country. What is exactly a G whatever country? G20, G7, what does that mean? These are the top countries of the world. The most prosperous, the most powerful. So the lower the G number, it means, in other words, when I say G7, just for anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, or you heard that, not exactly sure what that meant. The lower the G number means the lower the amount of countries included, which also mean only the most powerful countries, so to speak. And again, this is usually by GDP and things like that. So your country's GDP, your overall standing in the world, you know, the G5 countries would mean the top 5 countries. The G10 countries, the top 10 countries. The G20, the top 20 countries. This is in the G7. Sevens, you can't have a sevens, but G7. The top 7 countries. $100 for every $100 in disposable income, households have debt obligations of $171. Now, how's that going to work out? I just did a video. You just saw it. The debt default cycle has begun. The default cycle has begun. Businesses, yes. Individuals, yes. And even governments, yes. And the funniest thing of all this is how bankrupt our own country's been for how long. Essentially, what I'm reading you now, for each whatever, for each dollar, there's $1.70 due in debt. That's our country. It's been that way for a long time. We have a printing press, though. We just keep printing more money, borrowing it into existence, and paying the interest only. We don't pay the principal. We only pay the interest on that debt. So it keeps accumulating larger, larger, larger. So there's going to be a whole lot of countries that will go bankrupt. Household debt to income ratios, G7 countries. And here's a percent. And it's looking like, and I've said this before, once a country hits that 100% point, usually, it's good night. It's at that point only a matter of time before that number keeps creeping higher and higher and higher. The debt to GDP ratio just keeps going and going and going. And we usually, once you pass that 100% mark, it's game over. It's only a matter of time, and the amount of time I can't speculate on. But you've crossed the point of no return. And pretty much everyone, with just barely the exception of Germany and Italy, is past that line with the United Kingdom, and then in second place with Canada in first place. And who's that? The second close third place? Oh, that's actually Japan. Fourth place, United States. G7 countries. Most prosperous, powerful countries. But you guys are spending more money than you're bringing in. It's the equivalent of someone who's bankrupt, who's just given credit card after credit card after credit card. That's disconcerting for a number of reasons. As we wrote, quote, this would be bad enough in a favorable economic environment with a benign outlook for rates, but it's a veritable nightmare when the economy is sliding headlong into recession and central planners are hell-bent on trying to normalize policy sometime in the next 5 or so years. In other words, the outlook for Canada's economy isn't good. And that means joblessness is likely to rise going forward. And you can look at 2008 and see what happened then, and now you can see the little blip up right now, 2015-16, which it looks like it started right around the beginning, very end of 2014. But interest rates have virtually nowhere to go but up, at least in the medium to long term. Sure, Stephen Poloz may cut rates 1 or 2 times to try to help the oil patch avert certain insolvency, but at 50 basis points, there's only so much lower Canada can go unless the Bank of Canada intends to experiment with negative interest rates. Oh, haven't we been hearing that a lot lately? This means that households could face the disastrous prospect of rising rates in an unfavorable economic environment. Think a monetary policy mistake like hiking into a recession can happen? Just look at what the Fed did in December. Throw in the fact that many families are overburdened thanks to the astronomical cost of housing in places like Vancouver and Toronto, and one is inclined to think that some Canadian households may find themselves in quite a bit of trouble going forward. But don't take our word for it. Just ask Canadians, half of whom said in response to a new Ipsos Reid survey that they are within $200 per month of not being able to pay their bills and make their debt payments. Ipsos Reid conducted the poll about a week after the Parliamentary Budget Office issued a report on January 19th that said Canada has seen the largest increase in household debt relative to income of any G7 country since the year 2000. The Calgary Herald writes, and adding that 31% of respondents said any increase in interest rates could move them towards bankruptcy. That's 1/3. The survey also found that 25% of Canadians are already unable to cover their bills and service their debt. So what do you do if you're the Bank of Canada? Cut rates to boost the economy and rescue the oil patch at the risk of driving the cost of imported goods through the roof, thus pressuring consumer spending and thereby creating another headwind for the economy? Or hike to bolster the loonie, which is their currency, at the risk of tanking not only the oil patch, but also the 31% of the country that says they'll slip into bankruptcy if rates rise. And they say, final comment, your guess is as good as ours. This is one country, a G7 country at that. It would be different, it'd be, I guess, maybe slightly different, not much, if I said this is a G20 country and it's number 20 or number 19. Okay. It's down the list a little bit, not that big of a, powerhouse. Again, top 7. Talking about a top 7 country, and it's down there. It's like the 7th one, but it is a top 7 country. This isn't some Middle Eastern country I'm talking about. This isn't even a South American country I'm talking about. This is a North American country, just north of America, and again, it is number 7 in the list of G7 nations. The only thing that will save these people is if they've been accumulating silver over the years, taking advantage of the low prices over the years, and have this as a rainy day nest egg fund. And when I say that, let me give you an example of how you'd have to pry the silver from my hands in the worst case scenario if the price of silver isn't where it needs to be for me. In other words, sub $100 silver, I would be moving in with family or friends or somebody, one step away from being homeless on the street, before I tap into any silver that I own. Because my mindset is I don't have any silver, I don't own any silver, I never spent any money on any silver, I'm where I'm at right this moment in time, so if I didn't have that stuff, how would I handle this current situation I'm in? Oh, I haven't filed for bankruptcy yet. Got $15,000, $20,000 in credit cards, which I don't, but I'm going to use that as an example. Most people. I'm going to stop making payments on the credit card. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah, my credit's going to take a hit, but so what? I'm not going to tap that silver. That is my financial savior when the day comes. And that day's coming because I can tell right now what's happening to me. My personal life. Again, this is an example. So I will not even pretend that silver exists until I'm freaking homeless and destitute on the street. What's the price of silver today? Up, still not above 100. I'll walk the streets with a shopping cart, raggedy old clothes, and my stash of silver hidden somewhere at that point because I won't have a place to store it, right? That's how far I'd be willing to go before unloading any of my silver due to unforeseen, unexpected consequences in the economy or your job or your life. It is that important. I would file for bankruptcy first before that happened. And you want to know the beauty about owning physical, not paper, silver or gold? Oh, yes sir, you're here for a bankruptcy ruling today? Yes I am. Well, I'm looking at your bank statements. It looks pretty solid. You don't have any retirement accounts? No, don't. Any kind of retirement money? Anything? No, I don't. Okay, let me sign off on this. You're good to go. Bankruptcy has been granted. Have a nice day. Let's rewind that. Sir, bank account looks good, looks legit. You're definitely low. Looking good as far as the bankruptcy goes. Do you have any retirements account, anything? Yeah, I've got an IRA and a 401k. Ooh. I'm sorry, what did you say? Got an IRA or 401k. How much is in there? Let's take a look at that. Oh, yeah, you got $30,000 in your 401k account after you used to have 60 or 70. We can't go through with bankruptcy for you. That money's got to be used. You're gonna have to look, and I'll give a court order to liquidate that account because normally you can't get out of a 401k. Court will overrule that. You will liquidate that account to pay these bills. Oh, once again, precious metals. It's the only way to go. Take care.